So this is a how-to video on changing the LEDs in your Chevy Aveo. We're going to be going over how to get into your gauge cluster, the digital clock, the radio, the AC cluster, the shifter, and the dimmer. So let's start with the digital clock. Let's take it off. All you really have to do is pull back on it. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Voila, pops off just like that. You got to take off the two screws from the side. There's a single connector holding it on the back. So you're gonna have to unplug that. Voila, there's your digital clock. Now what you want to do with it is take off the plastic tabs. Just pop them up. Be careful because the plastic does get brittle. Now you have your cover. Now I've put a blue film over it since I couldn't change the digital clock itself, but I could change the LED lights. Unfortunately, because of the cover being yellow, when blue light hits yellow it turns green. You could choose to keep it off, but I think it matches with the digital clock on the board in the radio. So I'd suggest just leaving it. This is the back. This is the front. So just taking lots of care while opening this. You could lift up the plastic cover in the front. Just make sure you have a little more view. There it is. There's the cover. It's white. There, see? Plastic film. What? And there are the LEDs. What you want to do is you want to push out the board. Be careful. You could push the tabs. Now that you've gotten it off, you could see the LEDs. Alright, so if you look, you can see which LEDs are for what. There's 3 LEDs for the passenger airbag, there's one for the indicators on and off, and there's one for your anti-theft alarm. This is how you take apart your digital clock. Now we can move on to the shifter. Next part is the shifter. Now you want to clean out everything from the front and the whole center, because you're going to be taking off this first from the emergency brake, and then you'll be pulling up this piece, this whole front piece. Alright, so I'm going to take off this front piece by lifting up the front of it. The reason is it holds down this piece. Now you want to pull this piece up, but be careful. There are other parts. Come off. Straight up. Do so for the whole unit. It comes off. Now that you've got this whole piece off and set aside, you can lift this piece from the front and from the back. Now that you have all 4 of those out, we can deal with this. Now there are 2 connectors under it. One for the bulb for the middle, and then a connector for the hold button. So you're going to disconnect those. That's the connector for the hold. Now that you got your connector off, you can choose whether you want to take off the bulb's connector or not. There it is. suggest you don't need to. The next part's a little more tricky. The next part, going to need to unscrew the bottom part from the top. I don't know if you can get a good view of it from here. There's one screw. Should be 4 of these all around. Wish you can get a better view, but that's it. So unscrew those and you'll be able to take off the top. So once you've got all those 4 screws off, you could easily lift and move this forward. And now you've got a complete access to the bulb that goes here. Now you could easily go online and just buy the bulb that goes here, or you can buy the ones that are LED and just replace it and it'll be blue. Now the hold button, if you want to change that, it's completely different. You have to open it and solder it. Now for that you need to take out the hold button. For the hold button you need to pinch the sides and you need to push it upward. And voila, it comes out. Now you need to be careful because you need to take that piece off and that piece off, and I've almost broken it. You need to be very careful. So let's do that. Let's open it up. So make sure you lift those 2 sides up very carefully. That's what I did. I used a small flathead screwdriver. Now you can move it. You see that? I've got the LED in there already. I use these types because they went in the gauge cluster, so I might as well keep the LED the same all around. Now all you need to do is pull out that circuit board from the back. So you need to lift up this tab and these tabs. Let's do that. So now that you have those tabs off, you could easily open it, but I want you to be very careful because there are 2 springs on the inside. Now, as you can see, I soldered a different LED to where the original was. The original was a green, and I put this blue, but I put a surface mount style LED. I simply cut off the leads and then sat this one on top of where it was, pointed it forward. And that's how you can basically turn your hold button into the color you want and your shifter. Now we can move on to the gauge cluster. Now the gauge cluster is pretty simple. You lower your steering wheel, lock it in place, and you remove the top. You pull out and you pull up. Let's do that. And pull out from the bottom, pull up, and the whole thing just comes right off. Make sure you don't lose any pieces. Now you gotta unscrew 4 screws. Now that you've got the screws off, you have to take off that and that connector. What I do is squeeze and pull out. Squeeze and pull out. And the entire thing comes right out. Now you gotta make sure when you're taking this apart and when you're taking off these that you don't end up breaking it. You could also take off the plastic front. So you push down and forward, down and forward, down and forward. Then now you can pull that right off. Set aside. Now you gotta be very careful. This whole thing has to come off for you to get behind to the LEDs. So you got to take off the needles. Remember where the needles are at. They stay low until you turn them on, and then they will go up to 0 point. So they're about there. Remember that mark. And as far as the gas and the temperature gauge, they're about a little higher than that. They're about there, right above the letters. So remember that before you start taking this apart. So you pull off. Make sure you pull off evenly so as not to break the needles. So pull the needles right off. I've already pre-pulled these off, but make sure you give equal force all around. You don't want to break these. It's hard to find replacements. So you set those aside, and now that you've got those off, you've got to pull these tabs off. When you pull these tabs up, make sure you don't break them. So now that these tabs are up, you pull this off. Now you can take your cluster, simply pull it out. So you push that off, and voila, this comes off. Now you've got your cluster. You could pull this up. It's got two tabs holding it down. It's about a tab each one. And you can pull up on it, just like you did the digital clock. And voila, look at that. There's your LEDs. I put a blue behind the gas gauge because for some reason if you change the bulb on the gas gauge, I'm not sure why, but it won't work with an LED. So I simply put blue on it, blue shade behind it. And I also made the turn signals LED blue. You can probably make yours, make sure you check your laws. Now I put two LEDs there. They're blue. And here's the front console. Now when you take this off, make sure you don't break any of the legs or you'll be missing numbers. You don't want that to happen. So the final part to taking this apart is having to bring up this and this and this. Make sure you don't break any of them and push it up. So once you have those off, you just gently pull this off, and look at that. You've got your whole circuit board. Make sure this is intact. Make sure you didn't break any legs in the back. And there you go. There are your LEDs. Make sure that you pay attention to which way the polarity is. It's already there, usually marked by the lower side on the left. There's a little dip, that's the negative. Make sure to watch out for the airbag light. That one seems to have two different, that seems to be a different way of soldering the LED on. It's got two legs on this side and it seems to be on two legs on that side, so just be careful if you change that one. And there you go. That's how you take it apart. And good luck. I'll be doing the center console and the AC and the radio. That'll be next. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to take off the top part so we can get to the center and the radio. So you start from here. See this part? Push down. Right where the air comes out. Push down, and this is the spot where you have to begin. You should use a flathead. Small flathead should work. And now what you want to do is push up with the flathead and try to get under this panel and pull up. And voila. That's how you get it off. All you have to do is pull up. Just be careful, because it might hurt if you do it wrong. Now that you've got the top part off, you can get this and pry it off. So start from up here, pull off. Ah. Just be careful, because you don't want to break anything. Voila. Just set that aside. Now that you've got this exposed, you have the option of taking out the radio. So let's do that. There are 4 screws. Now, once you have the screws off, you could take out the whole radio. So let's do that. Now that you have the whole radio, you are able to access the screws on the side, here and here. There's some on the other side. So let's take those off. Now, once you have those 4 screws on the sides off, I suggest you put the unit back in, and now you can take off the whole face of the radio. You just need to pull out. Just make sure this is nice and safe. And that way you can take off the face. See? So with that done, you need to take off about 9 black screws to access the LEDs that light up this unit. So let's do that. So once you have all those screws off, you need to flip it to the front and pull off the volume. So you just pull it out, it comes off. It's 2 pieces, so be careful. Now that you have that off, you can just push forward and off comes the face. Now as you can see, my way of adapting the blue LEDs is in the display is to put over a blue sheet. Now, as you can see, you have access to the LEDs. We got LEDs here, here, and I think altogether there are 25 of them, I'm not sure. And you could look in the description to see what size they are and where you can get them on eBay. But my suggestion is when you're doing them to be careful. This is a board like any other and you could break it. And there are LEDs in here, I don't know if you could see. And it's hard to reach them. What I did was I went back here and I desoldered this unit. I actually took this off to get to the LEDs in there and then resoldered it. So that's how you get to your radio. Now we can move on to the AC unit. Alright, now we can start on the AC. Now I have to warn you, you need to take out this piece as a whole first. If you don't, you're going to break or warp the plastic on the outside. So let's start off by taking out the ashtray. And let's take off this piece right here. All you need to do is put your fingers under it, pull out. Pull straight out as much as you can. See? So, now if you do, you'll reveal 4 screws. You got one here, one here, one here, and one here. You need to take off those 4 screws, so let's do that. Now that you have those 4 screws off, you can pull the unit itself out. Straight out. Now here's the issue with this one. There are multiple plugs and cables holding on to this unit. And you need to disconnect every single one if you want to be able to take this out and work on the LEDs on the inside. So, you start with the emergency lights. Take off that cable. You move on to this button. It changes the direction of the air. So what you want to do is, you want to make sure this and this temperature isn't all the way to the left. You want the temperature all the way to the right, so you can get some slack. See? I'm turning it and it's pulling me in. So you want it to have slack. This one, on the other hand, it could be wherever it wants. So, with that said, I suggest you put it to the left. So now, what you want to do is, you want to pull out that cable. But let's start with the electronics first, so then I can bring the camera in closer so you can see. So the next one will be in the middle. All you need to do is push down, pull out. Voila, comes out. So now you need to pull this out. You need to be able to pull it out and you'll be able to move it from the unit itself. And you have to do it to this one as well. This whole piece just comes up. You got to be able to disconnect it first. So, let's try that. See, all you need to do is push up on it. What you can do is turn the knob to pull away. And now that you've got that unhooked, it's easier for me to show you on this side what happens. So, what you want to do is same thing you did the other one. Push out on it, and then turn the inside to pull out. Once you have that free, see these tabs? You need to pull these tabs out while pulling this up. Okay, so this is really hard one-handed, but what you need to do is stick the flathead right here, push out, and pull up on the wire, and then do so for the other side. Push out, pull up on the wire, keep pulling up or it'll be in vain. And voila, pops out. So now you gotta make sure this stays to the side. You gotta do the same for the other, but because you have everything unplugged, you can easily flip it. Look at that. You gotta make sure to disconnect this. Look at that, I used my short flathead to help me with that. And now, you could flip the whole unit. Let's see if I can capture that on video. Push down, pull up. Push out, pull up. See how easy that is? No brakes, no pulls, and look at that, you've got your whole unit. Alright, now that you have the AC unit out, you want to flip it over, and you want to find this screw and this screw. Those were the screws I was talking about when I said do not pry this face off. Okay, now that you have those out, you may flip it to the other side just to take off the face. You must take off the middle two on this side. 1, 2, flip it around, and 3. Please be careful when doing this. You could easily break them, especially when the plastic gets brittle and old. Voila! There's the face. Set that aside. Now you're starting to get an idea of what the AC cluster really looks like. Now, what you want to do is you want to do the same for these. But let's start off by taking off the front. All you need to do is grab hold really tight, pull forward. Look at that. Comes right off. So do that for the other two. It's right off. Do it gently enough not to break anything. And now you can start seeing on the inside the electronics that I'm trying to get to. So now we can take off the tabs. So you have the tabs off. Look at that, comes right off. But you need to unplug this. Just pull it up. And now you can take it off. There's one more piece of electronics you need to unplug. And look at that. you have where the light bulbs sit, which are now LEDs that I've changed to, and you have access to the electronics. So now that we've gotten to the electronics, you can unscrew it by taking off these two screws. So let's do that. So once you have those screws off, you can simply take off the board. Just take care not to damage it. And as you can see, I took off the LEDs from before and I changed them to blue, and I sort of ran sandpaper in front of them so the light wouldn't be as strong, and I also added an extra resistor, if you could see there, and I added the LED in the middle instead of a little light bulb, an incandescent. So, you know, this replaced the AC, this replaced the middle, which is for keeping the air out, and this is for the defrost. So there you go, that's how you get into your AC cluster. Before you finish putting this together, I want to talk about the emergency light switch. Now, if you put an LED in here colored, it'll still come out red. That's what happened to me. But that's going to be your choice if you want to change the LED. I did. At least now I know the LED is consistent with the rest of the electronics that I've put in, and it won't burn out as quick. So let me show you how to take that off. There are two tabs, one on this side and on this side. You push and you push the unit out, and voila, it comes off. Now if you look at the switch, it's got a tab up here, a tab up there that you need to flip up to open up. And here's the bulb. All you need to do is turn and pull out. Now, I would take it apart. It's just I've done it so many times, and it's not that hard. You just pull this tab up and pull this tab up, and that's it. So that's how you take that out. And when you're putting it back in, if you put it wrong, I mean, it's pretty obvious. There's only two ways. You're either going to be able to put it this way or that way. Guess which way is the right way. And when you do, all you need to do is voila. And now we can move on to the dimmer. So for the dimmer, you need to go under. And let's see if I can get some light in here. I don't know if you can see that connector. That's where it is. All you need to do is push out on it. Once you push out on it, it'll pop out by itself. So, now that you've got the dimmer out, all you have to do is get the clip off. All you need to do is push it and pull. Let's see if you can do that one-handed. There. If I could do it one-handed, you could do it with two. Same thing goes for this one. You've got to take off. You've got to pull up the tab there and there. And you can get inside, so do that. So once you pull the tabs off, make sure to pull off the face. You gotta pull up this so the wheel comes out and the whole unit comes out. And you can see where the original LED was, and you can see how I changed it. You gotta make sure to position it right, 'cause this won't fit if it isn't. See, when I close it, it's directly above it, directly above the picture. That's it. That's it for this how-to.